Hello, everyone, and welcome back into another episode of Conversations with Kristen and Cameron. It's episode 60. I'm Chris Beesmore,
And I'm Cameron Waddle.
and we have so much to talk about in tonight's episode. We have Tyran Stokes currently on campus. We also have Rob Wright on campus, and then, of course, over the weekend, Zoom Diallo also was on campus, and everybody was doom and gloom over the weekend, basically, after Zoom Diallo got off of campus and he didn't commit. Every Kentucky fan was like, oh boy, we're not going to land any commitments. And of course, that may still happen. Like Rob Wright might not commit, Tyran Stokes might not commit to Kentucky. Hopefully that's not the case, but there's a lot going on. Donnie Freeman is also coming on to campus, Terrence Brown, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in the podcast. We also will have our interview that I did earlier with the Banner Boys with the hanging up the banners on their frat, trying to get Tyran Stokes to come, Rob Wright and Donnie Freeman. So we've got a lot to talk about. We'll briefly talk about football since spring practice is coming up on Saturday, where everybody can go to. But let's get into it right now. But as I mentioned, Stokes, Wright, both are on campus right now, and a lot of fans are very excited. They're like, when are we going to get our first commitment? Could it be Wright? Could it be Stokes? Like, who is it going to be? I really think right now in this vote, I think we're in a better position to get a commitment from Rob Wright over Tyran Stokes. So,
Yeah, certainly. That one definitely feels like the thing, especially, I mean, with how long it's taken Stokes already. Like, transfer portal guys kind of they make decisions. Most of them make them quickly, and I mean, it feels like we're in a good spot for both. But you definitely never feel like you're in a great spot with Stokes and that whole recruitment over there. So I would definitely agree in saying Rob Wright is definitely the one I'm most confident in as of right now.
yeah, for sure. And real quick, were you in the doom and gloom group whenever Zoom Diallo did not commit to Kentucky over the weekend? Because so many fans were like dooming and glooming, like Sunday and Monday on social media, saying we're not going to land any commitments, and then everything changed. Like I said, with Tyron Stokes and Rob Wright coming onto campus.
No, I'm definitely not part of that. And I
Yeah.
mean, if you've listened to the podcast long enough, you know I'm a sunshine pumper and glass half
Mhm.
full type of guy. So you could probably just tell that I was not going to be that. But also, I mean, we didn't know it at the time, but now it's come out since then that as soon as the Diallo visit ended, they just flew to Atlanta and met Rob
Yeah.
Wright and his father. So I mean, they this staff has been going nonstop, and they've done a really good job of kind of keeping everything low key. And you can kind of tell from all the different reports that you hear from so many different people. But no, there's never been a second yet that I've been doom and gloom. I literally had to tell one of my friends tonight to just chill
Mhm.
because he was like, is Pope even going after anybody? And I was like, dude, like well, there are so many people in this spot. Like I've been the guy kind of trying to bat away the negativity and stuff from friends because they're thinking we're supposed to. A lot of it, I think, has to do with the fact that the Dirty Birds down 64 actually got a couple guys already, and that
Yeah.
put some pressure on them mentally. But I'm very comfortable with where the staff is right now,
Yeah.
and obviously, if we're talking a week from now and we're kind of in the same area, then I'll
Uh-huh.
be a little bit worried. But
Yeah.
definitely not doom and gloom. I haven't been doom and gloom yet.
Yeah, I haven't either. And like I said in our previous podcast episode, I said that if we probably don't have a commitment from by Tuesday or Wednesday, because that's been a full week of the transfer portal being open, then I get a little bit nervous. But like I said, like Zoom Diallo, he could still commit to Kentucky because Arizona, they just got Derek Dixon. So potentially like Zoom Diallo could be your two, and then Rob Wright being your point guard. But like I said, I still give it time for Kentucky to get a commitment. If we don't get one by at least Friday with all the visitors coming onto campus, like I mentioned at the very beginning of the episode, then I'll get a little bit nervous. But could you imagine having a backcourt with Rob Wright and Zoom Diallo, though? That would be insane.
Yeah, that's honestly been my like dream scenario. You can go back like I don't know, not a full week, but probably about 5 days ago, I'd say. And that was exactly what I had my dream scenario. And I was like, I don't even know if they want to play with each other. I don't know if
Mhm.
they would like to play and play off of each other, whatever. I'd imagine they both kind of want to be the guy, but it feels like just from what people have said and how we've been going about the portal so far, you can just kind of pick up on clues that they want to kind of go with a double guard lineup, and Zoom Diallo and Rob Wright are both their top guys. So you mentioned Derek Dixon. JJ Maniquit's not going to be a guy that like takes minutes, but it's just another guard that Arizona picked up
Yeah.
as like a depth guy. So I don't know if that like really means that, but if you believe Sportscast Productions on Twitter, they say that Zoom Diallo is going to be a Wildcat. So I don't know never even seen that page in my life, and
Neither have
obviously these insiders and burners and stuff always have predictions like crazy. So
I. Mhm.
it's a wild world on Twitter nowadays. You've got to legit have your head on a swivel because everything could be made up. Um, but at least it seems like some vibes could be kind of going in a direction where Zoom DL is still in play. When, like you said, there was some doom and gloom when he left campus and there wasn't a commitment. And
Uh-huh.
um, like I don't really know what the on three thing is because everybody it kind of lines up with what people are saying where it's like as soon as somebody goes on a visit they just put in a prediction where it's like 100% crystal ball
Mhm.
type thing on their end.
Yeah.
So he had that. Rob Wright has had that.
Uh-huh.
So I don't really know what that means, but he left campus without one. But from all the reports, it seems like it's went well, but also like
Mhm.
we talked about, the staff hasn't really let a whole lot of stuff out
Mhm.
with how stuff has gone so far. So it
Yeah.
feels like we're still in play for both. But that backcourt would be absolutely dangerous.
Yeah, it definitely would be absolutely dangerous. And of course, if y'all don't know Zoom Diallo, he's known to be a combo guard, 6'3", 190 pounds, transferring from Washington. And the only thing I worry about with Zoom Diallo is him just being from out west. He was on Washington. So it makes me worry because usually most kids who are out west, they'll stay out west, or if they do come to Kentucky or some school in the South, they usually transfer back out west after a year or two.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can kind of get like a trade back for Quade Green or Xavier Wheeler or Keon Brooks or something. We can kind of
Yeah.
get this Washington thing off our back. But yeah, that is interesting. It does feel like a lot of times that the West Coast kids always end up, like you said, going back out there, or if they do
Mhm.
come east, they're like a one and done, like the Jared McCain situation with
Yeah.
Duke. Like he was just in and out right away.
Uh-huh.
So that does make it interesting. I don't know if it's like a maybe he's been out west this whole time and he was there. He was out west still 2 years in the Northwest. And now he's like,
Mhm.
all right, I just got to get out. Now I got to get to
Yeah.
a bigger brand and really get
Mhm.
my branding up and everything. And
Yeah.
maybe that could be something that interests him.
Mhm.
And obviously the money's going to be all right
Mhm.
when you're talking about the team out of
Mhm.
Lexington, Kentucky. So
Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like, but I
Mhm.
still feel like Zoom may end up just being fine with leaving the
Mhm.
West Coast because this really will be like the first time that he would
Mhm.
consider it.
Yeah, for sure. And just talking a little bit more about Diallo, and then we'll get into Rob Wright and Tyran Stokes. He averaged nearly 16 points per game, had 4.5 assists per game, and then 4 rebounds, basically. He shot the ball very well, 49% from the field. You wish he could have a better three-point shot, only shooting 31.5% from the field on 2.2 attempts per game. So you just wish he could shoot a little bit better.
Yeah, no doubt. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but
Hmm.
it is interesting, just like the jump because he went up in playing minutes wise and everything, and ended up starting most of the games this past year. But so like he stepped it up in that, and then he also went up true shooting and across all efficiency across all the splits there. So maybe it's another thing of like just each year you can kind of stack on because like his first year he took 1.1 threes per game, the second year was 2.2 threes per game, and then so that went up 13% in a 1 year jump. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Obviously the 31 is still a little jarring when you're talking about a Mark Pope team where we saw year one you're going to need the shooting, and then
Yes.
going into year two we didn't necessarily have it. So it is a
Hmm.
little jarring, but I think when you have a guy that's like so like strong and confident with the ball in his hands, that gets his feet in the paint extremely well, especially if you did pair that up with Rob Wright, because we know how efficient he is.
Yes.
I think it could match up extremely well.
Yes, for sure. And I think Zoom Diallo would be the perfect player that if you need defense, you can rely on him because Rob Wright, he's known to be a cone on defense. Like, of course, Mark Pope's teams, they aren't really known for their defense. They are known for their three-point shooting and their offense. So I think Zoom Diallo would be great to have alongside Rob Wright.
Yeah, no doubt. That duo just feels like it makes a ton of sense. I mean, like height wise, like Rob's not huge. Zoom can kind of make up for that. Like you said, defensively, they're kind of just like strong where the other is weak. It may like in a way. So they would complement each other extremely well, I think. And that would be, like I said, that would be my dream backcourt, especially with who's available in the portal and stuff. And that's been really since it opened. Is that kind of duo if possible? There for a while, especially when we filmed our last episode, I had said like one of them. But if there's a world where you can get two of them and you can kind of pair them up together, you got to be excited about that.
Yeah, you definitely have to get excited about that. But let's get into Rob Wright now. We'll talk about Rob Wright, Tyran Stokes, and then get into more of the visitors coming along because Matt Jones of KSR tweeted out all the visitors that are coming this weekend. There's a lot. I think he named like 4 or 5 players. And of course, you probably won't land them all, but if you can land at least one, two, maybe 3 players from that list, you're going to be solid going to year 3 of Mark Pope, which is a make or break year. But let's talk about Rob Wright. He's 6'1", 183 pounds, and this past year, while being at BYU, he averaged 18 points per game, along with 4.5 assists, 3.5 rebounds, shot nearly 47% from the field and 41% from the 3-point line. And that's what you love to hear. Like if you can get your guard or any player to shoot 40% from the 3-point line or better. That's great. And he shot 4 3-pointers a game. So it's not like he wasn't shooting low volume where he was only shooting 1 or 2. He was shooting 4 threes a game. So that is pretty solid. And that's what you need.
Yeah, no doubt. And a good indicator is also like what it is outside of the 3-point line. Like 82% from the line and 47% from the field outside of the 41% from three. So you can tell it's not only just like he's going out there and spotting up and playing off of it. Like he's got it in his hands a lot and he's able to control it.
Mhm.
And that's another guy that took a leap forward, which Kevin Young is an incredible coach.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that helped it a little bit, but he's also just a really, really good player. So yeah,
Hmm.
the 41% is like the most like beautiful thing I think to be in when you look at like him and a player like this type of player. Because he's got the speed, he's got the ball handling, he's got all of that. He's an incredible offensive player, but then you throw
Hmm.
in the 41% because that's not always the case with these guards that are like super, I mean, talented with the ball in their hands and they can get their feet in the paint and all that. He's kind of got everything you can have offensively and the shooting with it. So like he's unbelievable. Like you said, he's kind of a cone on the defensive side of things, but the 41% from three is just like one of those things that if you have an opportunity to get him, that would make so much sense for Mark Pope.
Yes, it would definitely make a lot of sense for Mark Pope, especially after last year, where majority of the team struggled shooting the 3-point, shooting the ball from the distance. The only like really great 3-point shooter you had, 2 great 3-point shooters you really had, were Cam Williams and Colin Chandler. Of course, Colin Chandler, he announced that he's transferring to BYU back home. So you really only have right now one 3-point shooter on this year's team with Cam Williams.
Yeah, it definitely was not the prettiest sight in the world when it came to shooting threes. Like literally one of our most consistent guys down the stretch ended up being Mo Diabate, which was like wild that
I
was
know SEC
the
tournament.
scenario.
And
Um,
Brandon Garrison, can't forget about him too.
yeah, the BG experience was awesome down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, Colin was obviously like really, really, really good. Um, but he's one of those guys like he's replaceable. Like we talked about. Like I'm a huge Colin guy, but like it's not that he was like 46% from three. Like
Mhm.
what he did was it was awesome and it was a ton of fun to watch, but he's still replaceable at the end of the day. You just got to go out and make sure you land those guys because that's what you need, especially
Yeah.
like you mentioned in a very pivotal year for your career.
Yeah, and before we get back to talking about Rob Wright, what do you have paid the reported $3.2 million asking price for Colin Chandler? For me, no way.
Oh
Like
no,
the,
certainly not.
the
No.
only thing he was good at was really his 3-point shooting. Like he could not attack the rim. Like he was only good being off ball. Like he had like no handles. Like he would pick up the ball constantly. Like you would need, 2 solid like ball handlers next to him if he wanted to be successful.
Yeah, he only attacked the rim against Nichols. That was about it.
The dunk.
But yeah, no, I agree. It was like I loved him and it was a ton of fun to have. But he was like a guy that like I think he would be in the best situation at UK if he's like a six man. Like that like you said, there were so many times he'd lose the ball and like he just didn't have the strongest handle in the world and um he would just like when he was bad, he was bad. Like that was just kind of the
Mhm.
like there down the ending of the regular season, like he was really really bad and like
Yes.
not unplayable because he was basically all we had, like due to injuries and everything. But I mean, it was just bad. Like obviously his highlights were awesome, and I remember,
Mhm.
funny enough, listening to the Tyran Stokes live. I think they were playing the Journey against Tennessee at home, and I think it
Yeah.
was Tom Hart had said like, "I'm telling you, Colin Chandler is their best pressure shooter," and I was like, "Yeah, that's true."
Uh-huh.
But like that was really it. Like all the
Mhm.
moments that you remember they're not him being the Antonio Reeves flamethrower that like we needed at times. He did hit some of those like where he'd have crazy runs. I mean, the Vandy game at home comes to mind where it's just like, yeah, this guy can't stop making them.
Mhm.
But a lot of it was like he was fine throughout the game. He'd make big like step up like things late, which was awesome and it saved us in some situations. But it was just not worth $3.2 million. We can put it that way.
I
I
agree.
would have paid maybe like two. That would have probably been the most.
Mhm.
But 3.2 is really hard to turn down, especially if you get an opportunity to go home. If you're him, so I mean I can't blame him, but no, I definitely would not have paid the full $3.2 million BYU price.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. Like $3.2 million, way too much for Chandler. But let's transition back to Rob Wright. And we were talking about his 3-point shooting and field goal percentage. But I've seen a lot of BYU fans talk about how Rob Wright and AJ DeBonsta, how they weren't the best, duo together, and because they were both ball dominant. I really think the big issue for BYU is, of course, they had a lot of injuries like Kentucky did, like losing your probably, I would say Richie Saunders was honestly probably their second best player. Like, don't get me wrong, Rob Wright was good. But I felt like with Richie Saunders, like he put the pressure a little bit off of AJ DeBonsta and Rob Wright with his 3-point shooting. Like he wasn't just insane, just moving off the ball, and he was also, a great defender, 3-and-D. So I really think their season fell apart once Richie Saunders went down, and then they like opponents started to just focus in, target, Rob Wright and AJ DeBonsta, basically like double teaming DeBonsta trying to get the ball out of his hand to force other players to score.
Yeah, no doubt. I think he was definitely Rob Wright was definitely their third best. Richie Saunders, I mean, that was a dude that was preseason Big 12 Player of the Year. He didn't necessarily live up to that, but he was, I mean, he was absolutely balling that like while he
Mhm.
was healthy and all that. So I mean, he averaged 18 points a game, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. I mean, he's unbelievable. Um, he was really, really good. And like you said, Rob Wright was really I thought he complimented them well, but it was also weird because, like you said, it was ball dominant guy with ball dominant guy. But um, I think honestly, their problem is just like they went all in on the big three, kind of big four if you argue KBK isn't there, but like they didn't have like there wasn't a whole lot out there to
Yeah.
after them. Like it was kind of like, all right, we better be up like 10 points at the first media timeout or we're cooked. Like it was just
Uh-huh.
like there wasn't anything outside of it. So I feel like that was part of it. And then obviously Richie Saunders, you never want to see a player get injured, but that kind of did derail any hope that they had leaving that. So I mean, saying Rob Wright is the third best player on that team is absolute no slight because I mean Richie
Yeah.
was an incredible player. AJ's probably going to be one or two in the draft. So
Hmm.
I mean Rob Wright was just I feel like
Yeah.
it'll make a lot of sense in a different system. But I mean they
Mhm.
paid a ton of money for him, and they I mean he did well there. He definitely did well for him, but it just wasn't ever enough. It felt like that team never got to where they're like clicking because they were like the team of the offseason. It was like, oh, they paid AJ. The rumored was like 7 million, and
Million.
Richie got like 4 million, and Rob Wright got 4 or 5 million. It was crazy. But they never ended up panning out to what
Hmm.
like I think people would hope they could end up being.
Yeah, and I really think if fully healthy, they probably make it to the Sweet 16, like Elite Eight maybe. But of course, like once Richie Saunders went down, it was all downhill for BYU.
Yeah, sadly that was kind of it. And he
Yeah.
got hurt on I want to say it was Jimmer Fredette night. It was like the worst situation possible because it was like
Mhm.
honoring a legend, and then it was
Yeah.
you find yourself in that situation, and it just stinks because those guys like I mean I know that we have our whole situation and where we almost had him, he came to visit and everything, and I mean we would have loved to have had him. But like you see those guys in this modern era of college basketball, you see those dudes stick around at a school for 4 years. I mean, you just grow a soft spot in your heart for them. It's like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Like that, those guys don't really exist a whole lot. And then towards the end of his senior campaign, he gets hurt, and it
Yeah.
just sucks to
Which is
see.
awesome.
Um, but yeah, it's just that was a brutal situation for KY and that whole staff over there.
It definitely was, but let's transition back to talking about Kentucky. Now we'll be talking about Tyran Stokes, the number one overall player in the class of 2026, and he still is not committed anywhere. It's a lot of people are saying it's down to Kansas or UK. Of course, its top three are Kansas, UK, and Oregon right now. I know other teams have been trying to get in the mix for Stokes, but it sounds like he's dead set really on Kansas and Kentucky. And he started his visit in Lexington today on Monday, and man, it would be so great to get him. Like, I feel like the comparison is correct. If Tyran Stokes comes to Kentucky, it would be like the first year under John Calipari, where John Calipari got the commitment of John Wall, the number one overall player in the 2009 class. Like, basically, like all the kids would be looking up to Stokes. Like, whenever I was a kid, looking up to John Wall, like the new era of Kentucky basketball with John Calipari, John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins. But if you bring in Stokes in year three, I know it's not year one, but in year three with Mark Pope, I think it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, no doubt. He's must see TV. He's definitely kind of that the younger generation's kind of guy that they look up to. Like I know John Wall was like a different type because it was pre-social media and it was like really all you really had to think of when you saw John Wall was that mixtape. And then it was like then he was coming in, and
Different
it was just
novel.
a complete new era. And then obviously, like you said, it's year three, but it is kind of a turning point where it's like something's got to happen here. Not that he'd be like the savior of the program, but that's what it would feel like in a way where it's like this dude right here had the opportunity to go anywhere in the country if he wanted to, and he decided to end up being a Kentucky Wildcat and playing for Mark Pope. And obviously, it's a guy that like you wouldn't expect Pope to necessarily click with, but you can tell Pope's going after him all in,
Mhm.
and it's one of those that he realizes how important it is. I just don't think like I'm sure people say it to him all the time. I don't think Stokes realizes like what his impact would be on Kentucky. Like just what type of player he would be. And I know that like
Mhm.
he's got a situation where he could do something like that at Kansas and stuff, but like you said, he'd literally be the John Wall of this generation. Like he would change the trajectory, it would feel like, especially vibe wise. I mean, going the rest of this offseason, if you end up seeing Tyran Stokes sign a piece of paper that he's going to be playing at Kansas next year, the vibes are just different. I don't care who else you get out of the portal. He's kind of the one piece where it's like you just
Mhm.
can't really do a whole lot outside of him. Like that's the one that you want to be able to make sure you lock down. So he would literally be a game changer. Like he's
Yeah.
just like the way that I've always thought about him is like this year I've said, which now that Momchilovich has entered, it's a little like different for me. But I've said like this portal to me is a lot weaker at the top, but it's much deeper than last year's. This dude,
Uh-huh.
like if you compare him to the portal players, he is number one in the portal without blinking an eye to me. Like I don't think it's even close with the impact and the ceiling that he can bring. I mean it's exceptional. So yeah, he's definitely that type of John Wall comparison player where he could literally change the trajectory of the program with a
Mhm.
commitment.
Yes, for sure. And like I said, I'll be very excited if Tyron Stokes does end up at Kentucky. Right now, I'm looking at the predictions, so there's no like official like prediction from an analyst or insider, but it does have Kentucky currently being the leader against Kansas on the on three RPM model. So that's very exciting news to have the lead over Kansas right now. Of course, you've got to wait until, like an insider like Steve Wilfong or Jacob Polachek, Jack Pilgrim, like actually releases, a crystal ball for Kentucky or Kansas. But that's very exciting, and hopefully that continues to trend the right way for Kentucky to land him. Also, 24/7 Sports, they still have Kansas leading to get the commitment from Tyron Stokes, but that was all the way back in January. So that is exciting, though, to see Kentucky being the leader right now on three.
Yeah, it's so weird because this whole process, like, it felt like we were moments away from getting a commitment back in the fall, and then no, I don't know if it was like that he knew and he just didn't want to commit because we knew about it or something. Then it all
Hmm.
flipped and he's like a Kansas lock, but then he doesn't end up committing for a long time, and it's like, well, I don't know why this hasn't come to fruition yet. I don't know why it hasn't fully happened. And then Mark Pope kind of throws his hat back in the ring where he's like, I mean, I guess we're not out of it yet. I guess we'll just go back all in. And it feels like just from what people have said, like we're kind of going like one last big hoorah and we're going all at him this trip, which has lasted all day, which I think is
Hmm.
noteworthy at least. Um, I think that's got to be kind of their mindset. It's like you got to go all in, and if he doesn't like commit, not that you have to put the pressure on the kid to commit tonight. It's like he said in TikTok comments, the biggest decision of his life.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it's like you've got to figure out something because, like they've talked about, I think Matt Jones has mentioned, I think Jack Pilgrim's mentioned it. Like they've kind of got two different scenarios in their head. Like one has a vision of Stokes and building around that.
Mhm.
One doesn't have him, and there's a different kind of like roster construction that they're going to
Mhm.
have if they don't have Stokes. So
Yeah.
it's a very odd situation. Um, and it's something that like we don't really see that often. I mean, we've seen guys that have kind of put things off and put things off for different reasons and stuff, but I can't really remember one exactly like this where it's just like he is the lock of all locks to one school, and then it flips and he's the lock of all locks to another school, and then it's kind of back and forth. And depending on where you look, it's like Goodman says Kansas is the heavy favorite.
Yeah.
I think Travis Brandon said Kansas is the favorite, but then Jack Pilgrim said, I disagree. Like he said it's
Uh-huh.
probably kind of up in the air, 50-50, maybe a Kentucky lean, but like if it's 50-50, it's headed in Kentucky's direction. It's not like it's fading away. So I don't really
Mhm.
know where it sits, but it's a very, very unique recruitment overall.
It is definitely a very unique recruitment, and like you were saying, like Travis Branham, Jeff Goodman both say that Kansas is still like the leader, heavy leader. Meanwhile, Jack Pilgrim, you mentioned saying like it's still 50-50, like Kentucky could still get the commitment, and like getting a visit this late into the recruitment, like in April, like is very unheard of. Like most players are committed by this time, and for Tyran Stokes to still not be committed, and you mentioned also earlier that, like Joe Tipton of On3 could have ruined like the announcement for Tyran Stokes, and that's one of the reasons why he pushed back his recruitment so far because like Kentucky was seen as a heavy favorites early on. He was going to probably announce his commitment in October, but then Joe Tipton started to say, "Hey, he's probably going to commit on this day." Stokes did not like that, decided to push back his recruitment. That's how Kansas got into it more. Kansas got the lead. Apparently, they still have the lead according to some of the insiders. But to get this visit so late in April, it's like very key.
Yeah, getting this visit at this point is absolutely massive. And I know a big part of it is the Mo Williams hiring and all that, but just getting a second chance to like get him on campus and do all that is yeah, very, very important. And the timing is obviously key on it. Do you believe any of the I put out the tweet earlier, I just like quoted what Jeff Goodman had said on their show today, where it basically said like there's a lot of guys that are kind of holding off because they like kind of don't really want to play with Tyron Stokes. They're scared of him being
Mhm.
the guy somewhere and demanding all these different things. And that there's actually, whether it's Kentucky or Kansas, there's certain guys that are kind of holding out, like saying, I'm not sure if I want to actually deal with that. Do you think there's anything to that?
I really don't believe that. I know a lot of insiders, analysts, they always say that Tyran Stokes, he has a terrible attitude, like he has off the court issues, and then he can also be terrible on the court just with his body language and everything. I really disagree with that. Like, if you really can't play with a player just because, like, you're afraid of what he's going to do, whether he be ball dominant or his actions on the court, like where he gets really mad and then has his head down on the court or like him cursing or whatever. I really don't believe that because as a transfer, you're already like 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years older than Tyron Stokes. So you should not be afraid of Stokes and his bad attitude if he does have one. And you should be ready for competition on the court and be able to play alongside him too.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's obviously like the alpha of the class, and I mean he's a kid that's like I mean the clips have kind of resurfaced this week of him like playing Cooper Flag and AJ Debanza and stuff in high school, and it's like he just dominates everybody he plays. I mean, there's the videos of him saying like you can't blank guard me, white boy. Like it's just like there's all these different things. Like yeah, those exist. But also this has been one thing I've thought about for a while. Um, like this is this is what I was thinking. This is the worst case scenario. So like this, I'm just telling you like this is probably not going to be the case, but this is the absolute worst case scenario. Say we get a couple of these recruits, whatever, that are transfers, and they pair with Tyron Stokes, and it doesn't work, and Tyron Stokes can't click with Mark Pope and all this stuff. It doesn't affect him. Like that dude is still going to be in the NBA for a long time with the Kentucky logo
Yeah.
by his name, representing that. Like you don't go and you don't sit there and watch the Raptors win the 2019 championship and say, "Hey, Kentucky Wildcat Jody Meeks got a ring," but he played for Billy Gillispie, and that kind of was a weird era. Like it's just he's a Wildcat. Like
Huh?
say the flaming out of the Mark Pope era is this, and it just doesn't work, and it would suck if it's that. But this is like I said, the worst case scenario. It's doomsday. Say it just doesn't work out, and this year's not good. Whatever. Like Stokes figures it out at the next level, but maybe there's a different coaching search or whatever. Um, and it ends there. It's still like that's why I think you got to land this kid. Like he's
Hmm.
that level, and we obviously know. I mean, Jeff Goodman, he's put it on another level of exaggeration to me. Like I've said for a while now, I think Deron Rippey and Tyran Stokes are like the only legit kids out of this class. He said
Hmm.
it's like Tyran Stokes, massive drop off, and then Jordan Smith. Um, but he's very obviously, if he's
Yeah.
not one, he's going to be like a top three pick next year. Like
Yeah,
he's going
I
to
agree.
be extremely high in the draft next year. So like that alone means a ton. Like I know that like Kentucky fans get aggravated about the like biggest day in Kentucky's history is the draft day or whatever. And we got kind of annoyed with the draft stuff for a while, but it still means a ton. Like you still have
Yeah.
that branding with you. It still means a lot. So like even basketball aside, like if that's even a glimpse of a worry,
Hmm.
just don't like kind of sit that aside because this dude means a lot more than just one SEC game in February or something like this.
Hmm.
It's a not a program changing player, but he's like a not generational, but he's a once in we don't get number one guys every year. Like I know that
No.
there for a while it felt like Calipari was just like pumping in 5 star after 5 star. Like I was joking about this earlier. I was like, this is the best player on campus since Shaden Sharp. So
Since the
yeah,
Satan Sharp.
yes, and Shaden Sharp. Like we
Yeah.
haven't had like a crazy amount of guys. Like it's the number one guy doesn't just like
Hmm.
walk up to your campus every single
Yeah.
year. You've got a chance to land one. You've got to just
Mhm.
get that through the finish line.
You know who the last number one overall recruit was at Kentucky?
What was it? Just Nerlens or Scal?
It was Scout.
Scal. Okay, yeah,
Scout
that one.
rookie
Yeah, that
year.
one's a little interesting. But I was saying earlier, I was just thinking, who's the best player since? And then I was like, Shaden Sharp. I'm gonna just say that.
Satan
I
Sharp.
remember when we got Shaden Sharp, I was like, "Oh boy, it's over for the country." And then obviously that never
It
ended
didn't
up
work.
panning out.
Yeah. Yeah, it did not work out for sure. But speaking of like you've talked about Jeff Goodman earlier, he did say that he sees Kentucky as the main leader for Rob Wright going back to him. So that was great to hear. But to also hear him say like Kansas is still leading for Tyran Stokes, it was also bad. So hey, I'll take getting Rob Wright and Zoom Diallo. Like if we miss on Tyran Stokes, like we'll figure it out. We'll get somebody else.
Yeah, for sure. If you can just get two of the three, I think you're in a good spot. Like I
Yeah.
know our dream scenario is the 3 for 3 right there.
Hmm.
But I mean, and that also just adds to like how important today was in general. Like you already had the visit of Tyron Stokes and Rob Wright to like where they ended up combining at one point, and but then also the news, like you mentioned early on, like Derek Dixon going to Arizona, like that adds to like the important stuff for Kentucky because it all kind of shifts towards us. Like it's you feel in a pretty good spot overall tonight where you stand with all three of these guys. And honestly, like I said, the Stokes his visit being so long is so like shocking to me because I think he got in. I think they said he got in this morning actually.
Uh-huh.
But I thought he was going to be gone at like I don't know 4, and it was going to be kind of like one of those like get him out whatever, and then Rob's going to come in at like 6 p.m. was the time that Goodman said. I think he actually landed around 5 or something.
Right.
Um, but like they cross paths a lot. I know like they
Yeah.
weren't in the video together on Instagram Live, but
Mhm.
like they definitely cross paths a lot. Like they've definitely
Mhm.
chopped it up a little bit. They might have got dinner. I know Stokes got fed well for lunch because
Yeah.
we had the blurry picture from across the room at Carson's. So
Yeah.
shout out to
Video I
whatever
saw
fan that
too.
was.
I saw a
Uh,
video too of that.
oh, there was a video too. Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
our fan base is crazy. Like, I feel
That
like they
account.
knew they just had to go.
Yeah, that account went private because he was getting so much hate for posting
Yeah,
that video.
it
Um.
was funny because like the timeline it would be like whatever you do, do not post Stokes or whatever if you see him out in
Yeah.
public or whatever. And then the next tweet was that, and I was like, oh gosh, here we
Yeah,
go.
I found the person's Twitter. I won't like, put the guy's name out, but I'll won't say it, but he definitely got a lot of hate on Twitter for posting the video of Tyran Stokes at Carson. So lesson learned: do not post, recruitment visits onto social media because you're going to get hate for it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we got the Zoom pictures from the other day when Zoom was on his visit, and now we got Stokes. And I haven't seen anything tonight, but I guess if they went to a dinner, then we probably had some member of BBN snap a flick because they probably were at the
Yeah.
same restaurant at the same time.
Do you want to hear my theory real quick, and then we're going to talk about the banners and then the upcoming visits for Kentucky basketball? But you want to hear my theory?
Yeah, let's hear the theory.
All right, this is my theory. So everybody saw Tyran Stokes on Instagram Live, and he was with one of the Kentucky basketball managers, but we did not see Rob Wright at all. My theory is he was taking pictures and probably maybe committing to Kentucky. Like I said, this is my theory, but I'm thinking Rob Wright was, doing the photo shoots with him in a Kentucky basketball jersey, and I'm thinking that he's going to commit because, like, you do the photo shoot, you commit from there. That's my theory, and that's why Tyran Stokes was like the only person in the basketball in Rupp Arena shooting shots.
Honestly, yeah, that hadn't crossed my mind, but that actually does add up a lot. I mean, I know it's
Mhm.
like also part of it is just like, well, they're actually on his real visit is during those hours, so maybe that's also just why they're over. Like maybe they're somewhere talking, but that does make a lot of sense, though. I mean, like being in Rupp, like I mean, we saw the Stokes original visit pictures. He took some of them in Rupp. Maybe it was like everything's fired up and all this stuff is on and Rupp and everything because they're about to get pictures done for Rob in there. And I mean, yeah, that I honestly hadn't thought about that, but I do like the theory.
Like I said, that's my theory. I don't know if it's true or not, and I don't know if Rob Wright will actually commit to Kentucky. Same with Tyron Stokes, but those are my thoughts and opinions. But let's get into the Kentucky Banner Boys, and it has gotten so much popularity on social media, so much clout, whatever you want to call it. And I actually got to talk to them, and we'll put that into this podcast episode. But it's just crazy because it all started out with the come home Stokes, and then once they heard Rob Wright was coming to campus, they added the come home Rob Wright, and then after that, the two assistants they go by the frat house Sigma Chi with Mo Williams and Mikhail McLean. Mo Williams is on FaceTime talking to Mo Williams is talking to Donnie Freeman, and Donnie's like, "Where's my banner at? Like, what the heck?" So they immediately jumped on it. They got another one that said "Come home, Donnie," and isn't just crazy how much popularity it has gotten onto social media since yesterday.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's literally a movement at this point because now all over Lex. I think I had heard on KSR. I think they said that the Nicholasville Walmart jumped on the trend, and it's just like it's everywhere. I nearly did it, and I'm an hour and a half away. It was just like I kind of wanted to jump on the trend. Uh, but yeah, just the bed sheets and spray paint. It's just an
Yeah.
iconic thing. I saw somebody do a blue tarp with white spray paint tonight, so they changed the vibe up a little bit. Went with the road version. Uh, but yeah, no, I mean that was a great trend, and you did an excellent job with the interview with the guys, and
Mhm.
shout out to them for jumping on with us
Yeah.
and doing that and taking some time. So, I mean, those guys like that's exactly what you love about BBN, like that those guys and just the passion that they have. I mean, like
Mhm.
Mario from KSR had gone and visited the house and went upstairs, and you could just tell like those guys they were like, um, I think Mario asked some question like if they land these three guys, are y'all back in or something? Like, we never left. Like
Yeah, we never
we're
left.
right here. And that's super cool to see because like obviously we can have passion. Like there's different levels of um like fandom and stuff, but when you're in college, that just means a little bit. Like there's a little something more to it because like those are the guys that like I didn't go to UK for college, but from what I've heard, it's like those guys really stick with you. The guys that you got to watch while you were in the student section in the eruption zone, like those technical classmates of yours, like
Uh-huh.
those guys really stand out to you, and you really remember your time with that. So like they obviously want to get it all rolling, and then like they've mentioned those guys numerous times, like they really wanted to work out with Pope, like we all do. Um, and so I mean, it was an awesome interview that you got to do with them,
Uh-huh.
and credit to those guys, man. They just like they just took an idea and ran with it, and it's
Yeah.
I mean it's made its way out of Big Blue Nation. I mean I know some people were pretty mad at Matt Jones' tweet by saying like nobody does it like BBN or whatever, and then all these other fan bases
Mhm.
were like, oh yeah, nobody paints just like little pieces of
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. And it's like, all right, well, that's not the point. It's the passion of like, we're gonna nail this on the outside of a frat house because that's just
Mhm.
BBN. That's Big Blue Nation.
That is definitely Big Blue Nation. But we'll get right into the interview. So here I talked to Theo Timmerding and also Gabe Mingus. They are both sophomores at UK with Sigma Chi. So here's the interview. So let's get into it. What sparked the idea to hang the come home banners?
So we were just sitting around Saturday morning, and I think that's kind of when the news broke that Stokes was visiting on Monday. So I looked at Gabe and I kind of said as a joke, I was like, we should have like a welcome Tyran banner, and we kind of just laughed it off. And then Sunday morning, Gabe was like, so like, are we actually doing this? Yeah, we were sitting around and we were like, let's go do it. And then we went and we bought spray paint. And then we went some places looking for like cheap bed sheets. We didn't see anything. And then we're like, all right, maybe we won't. And then we were just sitting around and I'm like, all right, let's do it. So as soon as we put that first one up, we were not even thinking anything of it. Just kind of like 30 minutes later, it was all over Twitter. And then right after that, Rob got announced.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, we have to put up another one. As soon as we put up the second one, that's when it really went big.
Mm-hmm. Understood. And then how did y'all decide to come up with the banner name, like Come Home Tyran and then Come Home Rob?
So, I mean, me and Gabe have been diehard Kentucky fans our whole life, and we think of Kentucky as, I mean, home. We're both from here. And, I mean, I think of the school and the program as home. So, like, we're like, come home. Like, come home to the program. Like, we got the best fans in the world. Like, BBN's a family.
Mm-hmm.
So that was inspiration behind that. That happened. Then the craziest part is when the coaches rolled by the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And could y'all talk about the coaches rolling by? I know Mikael McLean and Mo Williams came by.
Yeah, they stopped. This truck stopped right in front of the house, and I was looking, and I was like, that looks a lot like Coach McLean. But I couldn't really see him from our angle, and then they pulled up a little bit like they were going to take off. And they just stopped, and they got out of the car, and yeah, it was Mo Williams and Coach McLean.
Mm-hmm.
Mo was recording us, and then Coach McLean walked up, and like he was like, Donnie's mad you all don't have one for him. And he turned his phone around, and he was on FaceTime with Donnie Freeman.
Mm-hmm. Understood. And then how quickly did y'all get the Donnie Freeman up after that FaceTime?
As soon as they rolled away, we made it and hung it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then could you talk a little bit, like, how long did it take for all this process to come along with, all three sheets that y'all hung up?
Yeah, it's really it's pretty easy, and we really want the rest of BBN to just join in on it. You lay it down flat in your yard, and you just spray painted the letters all across. You just gotta make sure it's big and neat, and then you let it dry a little, and then you have nails. We just nailed it into the house, all three up.
Yeah, that's great. And then what has the reaction been from students, fans, and people around campus, do you think?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, last night we were sitting out there all night, and I couldn't tell you how many people drove by and honked at us. Like, even at 2 a.m., can hear it in my room. People are driving by honking. And we've seen other banners are starting to be hung up, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. And then, like you were mentioning, how cool is it to see now, like, other people hanging up banners at their houses or apartments?
I think that is amazing. That's what just makes BBN the best fans in the world, because we see what something unites us, and everybody will just take it and run with it, because BBN is the most united fan base in the country, I think. And when something like this happens and everyone gets involved, it just proves that we are the best fans, and everyone's so together, and it just makes the whole process just so more enjoyable being a Kentucky fan.
Mm-hmm. Understood. And then, has, like, any players recognized it yet? I know Donnie Freeman was on the FaceTime with Mo Williams, but, like, has Tyran Stokes reached out or anybody?
Not directly to us, but one of the media that posted it, she sent me a screenshot of her Instagram story, and it was a picture of our banner that said "Come Home Stokes," and she posted it on her Instagram story, and Tyran Stokes had liked her Instagram story.
Mm-hmm. And then a couple more questions I have. When did he realize it was starting to gain traction or blowing up?
So I think for me specifically, it's like when Matt Jones and like KSR guys started tweeting about it, we were oh crap, we were like, this actually might start blowing up a little.
Mm-hmm. Let's lock it in tomorrow, baby. And then what does it say about the energy and excitement around Kentucky athletics right now?
it just means that, I mean, we're so invested in this program. We all want Pope to succeed, and we know how big of a recruitment week this is for Pope. Obviously, with Stokes, Wright, and Donnie coming this week, that's the excitement of the fans getting so excited about this. But we know how badly we need these players. So we're just doing. I've been keep telling people, it's like, we're just doing our part. We want these guys to come here. We want to show them how excited we are. They're coming here, and hopefully they can commit here because we need them. I mean, we need them badly.
Yes, I agree, and a lot of people are saying it's a make or break year for Mark Pope. I know y'all are called the Banner Boys. How did that name come up?
I mean, we kind of just made it as a joke, and then it kind of stuck and ran with it.
Yeah, it was kind of almost given to us. Like, we said it as a joke, and then a page actually posted it and was like, or Matt Jones said, the coaches came to the Banner Boys house. So we're like, all right, I guess that's our name. We'll just run with it.
Yeah. And then how cool would it be, to see these recruits or transfers end up actually at Kentucky? Like, maybe you all played a small part because of the Banners.
I mean, that would be the dream. Yeah. Even if we played no part, as long as they come here, that is the dream come true because that's the goal. We need them here. And if we played a little bit of part and they said, man, those Banners are so freaking cool, even if they drove by here, I think we would freak out. I don't know what I would do with myself.
I hear you all. Do you all have anything else you all want to add real quick?
I don't think so. Just hopefully keep hanging more banners around here.
Exactly. That's the goal. We're going to keep hanging them for everyone that visits now.
Yeah, for sure. And then hopefully we can also start hanging more banners inside Rupp Arena, get number 9.
Yes, sir. 100%. 100%.
That was a great interview. I wish Cameron was able to join. It was just a real quick phone call interview that I did with him this morning, but it has gotten a lot of popularity. If you haven't watched it yet, it's already on our YouTube channel with Conversations with Chris and Cameron. We would love for you all to just check out that interview, but like I said, it was great to just see, 2 sophomores at UK to come up with this idea.
Yeah, just two guys full of passion. And like you talked about with you, that it was an idea that just kind of sprung upon them, and they're like, all right, yeah, let's just do it. They obviously did not think it was going to get the legs that it did. When they did it, they just kind of did it because they were like, well, we want to get these guys. Let's just go show them some love. And it obviously went and ran, and it's been all over the place so far. So yeah, shout out to those guys and showing because there's a lot of bad parts of BBN at times, and those guys are part of what you see that's the good part of BBN and stuff. So I think the fan base has definitely rallied around those guys, and they've really started a trend around this Big Blue Nation.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing I noticed was Jenna Leibshin, who is with, hopefully I pronounced her last name right, but with the Kentucky Colonel, she's a UK student. She posted, I believe online, social media, or I saw it somewhere online, that Tyran Stokes actually viewed her story and liked it as well when it just said, "Come home, Tyran." So that's great to see and hear as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it was her Instagram story or something. But yeah, getting them to view it is one thing, and then they throw a like on it too. And you can tell just from following the recruitment for a while, like Tyran Stokes likes the attention, but I don't think like those guys expect anything like that. Like that's not anything that just like a regular school ends up doing. So to Matt's point, when he pointed that out, like it's just something that BBN does that nobody else really does, and it's just the passion that yes, we have frat guys that could probably be focused on a bunch of different things, but they are focused on making sure you are wearing the blue and white in Lexington next year.
Yeah, for sure. But enough talking about Tyran Stokes, Rob Wright, and everybody. Let's get into who else is visiting Kentucky. So we've got the Furman guard coming to visit, Alex Wilkins. He was only a freshman this past year, 6'5", 175 pounds. He averaged nearly 18 points per game, along with basically 5 assists, 2 rebounds, 46% from the field, and those are amazing numbers. His three-point shooting could be a little bit better. He shot just below 33% from the three-point line, but he did shoot a lot, nearly 6 three-point attempts. So that's also great to see that, he was shooting a lot of threes. But you wish his number could improve. But I feel like Alex Wilkins would be a perfect backup point guard to Rob Wright, or Zoom Diallo. If you don't get Rob Wright, you only get Diallo.
Yeah, just from reports that have been put out about him, he's not looking for any backup roles. So I'm curious what kind of pitch UK is going to give, because I guess he could come in and be the two if you didn't land, like you mentioned, like if you just like missed on Diallo or something. Maybe he could be the two. Obviously, you don't like the shooting, but
Mhm.
like we said with Diallo, like his shooting's kind of down a little bit. Alex Wilkins has some length and can defend pretty well, and a ton of schools are going after him for obvious reasons. So I think his shooting can get a lot better. It doesn't feel like he's one of those guys that he's just written off when it comes to shooting. But if you were able to pair him with like Rob Wright, if that was a situation, I think that one could
Uh-huh.
be a legit scenario. So like just from what people have put out, it seems like he's not interested
Mhm.
in any form of backup role. So I don't know if that means like there's no chance of it, or if he can kind of be talked into it. And
Yeah.
especially at Kentucky, a place where Mark Pope is coaching, and you're going to play a lot, even if you're like the seventh man out there. And so I don't really know what that situation looks like, but this kid right here is the real deal. Like he's
Yeah.
getting looked at by a ton of people for a reason. And like you said, he was still getting shots up. They weren't super efficient, but it shows that he doesn't like lack the confidence. And then like
Yeah.
I always point at the free throw percentage, he's 82.4%. So that is a telltale sign that like that can improve quite a bit from the three point range.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, he wants to be a starter, but like with Mark Pope's teams, like even if you're coming off the bench, you're still going to get about probably 20 minutes a game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you're still gonna get your tick, and yeah, you're gonna be in a good spot. Like you're gonna
Mhm.
still play the whole lot. We know how Pope wants to coach, and so that is good and bad for him because it obviously makes it a
Mhm.
little tough to recruit certain guys, but it's also like, yeah, you're gonna be coming off the bench, but it's not really coming off the bench like you would think.
Understood. And then transitioning to another player. So UK is expected to get a visit from Utah transfer guard Terrence Brown. Last week, of course, there was a photo that was leaked because Brown posted on his private Snapchat story. Somehow it got leaked online, but he did have a phone call meeting with Mark Pope, FaceTime, and I guess the interest was mutual. And now he's going to visit campus sometimes this week. But Brown, he is a 6'3", 175-pound point guard. He averaged 19.9 points per game, so nearly 20 points per game, nearly 4 assists, and 2.5 rebounds, while also shooting 45.3% from the field, 32.7% from the three-point line. And he played in all 32 games while, having 31 minutes per contest. So that is crazy to hear. And also, I want to say one fun fact about him. He did play with Ansley Almanor at Dickinson. So that's great to hear. That happened during the 2023-2024 season. But Brown, I feel like he would be the perfect starting point guard if you miss on Rob Wright or Zoom Diallo. Like you bring in Terrence Brown to be the starting point guard then.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Ainsley can give us a good pitch or something, and he can kind of do a little recruiting for us. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, I think he was at North Carolina today. I think it was, and Michael Malone has done a pretty good job with his recruiting and
He
kind
has.
of. I mean, he's pushed some guys out, and he's got some guys that he really wanted. So I'm interested to see where that one ends because I mean, a lot of these guys have kind of committed right when they've gone on their first visit, which is huge for the next guy that we'll talk about here in a moment. But um, he's a very, very good player, obviously. Terrence Brown is one of those dudes. It was kind
Mhm.
of funny, just like the leak thing being a FaceTime call on a Snapchat story that says Kentucky chat. That was pretty funny to me. I was just like, this
I
doesn't
know.
scream Mark Pope, but we'll go with it. But obviously we expressed interest early. A lot of schools really have. I know there's a ton of schools going after him. But like you mentioned, played in every single game, and obviously it wasn't the best Utah team in the world, but um, he was kind of that dude on the team. Like he was yeah, just below 20. He had 19.9 points per game, but did a lot of different things. And he's got some speed. He can shoot it a little bit. Like you said, the 32.7 isn't completely ideal, but he was only taking three a game. Like it wasn't on a ton of volume. So I'm curious what that would kind of look like if he made the
Mhm.
transition into a Mark Pope offense where he'd probably start to get a little more up, depending on who's around him. But he's a really, really good player. It's like one of those things that like maybe he doesn't necessarily fit extremely well, but it just you got to go after this guy. Like he's pretty efficient at what he does, and he knows exactly what he's supposed to do. And he's played a lot of basketball. He's a junior, like you mentioned with
Yeah.
Wilkins. He's obviously only got 1 year under his belt. With Terrence Brown, you've got a guy that's had 3 years under his belt and played at two different levels now. So I do like him a lot. It's just interesting because this is part of the timeline where like I think some people were a little pessimistic, saying like, "Well, does this mean that we're out on one of these guys, or like, does this mean
Yeah.
like?" I think this is one of those situations where, like you said, if we miss on a guy, then we start to push all our cards in towards him. But if we do win those guys, we probably just end up canceling that visit and say, have a good one,
Yeah,
and we'll
absolutely.
we'll see you in Chapel Hill probably.
Yes. And then talking more about visits lining up, we've got also Kentucky. We've got Syracuse forward Donnie Freeman also visiting Kentucky. 6'9", 205 pounds. And then he averaged 16.5 points per game, a little bit over 7 rebounds, and 1.3 assists per game. He also contributed nearly a steal and a block per game. Shot very well from the field, 47.4% from the field, but only shot 30.2% from the three-point line. So he is not known to be a three-point shooter, but he would be great to just be able to, have on the offense, be able to attack the rim, score, get baskets for you.
Yeah, no doubt. He's got great frame. Overall, he's a big body that I think would be a really good four for us. Um, but like I mentioned in our last podcast when we talked about him, like he is a guy that like you look at his 3-point percentage and you're like, that kind of bothers me a little bit, but he can at least stretch it a little bit.
Yes.
Like with Andrew
Multi body.
Carr, like the Mo Diabate situation, it was like, all right, well, they can kind of give him the Ben Simmons treatment for a little bit of the season. But like with this situation, like he shoots it well enough to where you've got to at least respect it. But he's got good size. He can play back to the basket. The only thing that's weird is like he's had a foot injury both seasons when he's been at Syracuse. So that's a little interesting that like I think fans would probably be a little afraid of. But I mean, this is McDonald's All American. The McDonald's All American tag doesn't just leave you. He was a really good player out of high school. Played a couple years there, and he was kind of a guy that was shining through even when they weren't doing great. And he played in the final 2 years of Coach Autry there. So it's a really interesting one. I know a lot of guys that like. There's been different fours rumored for us and stuff, but he's the
Mhm.
one that I've seen a lot of people that are just like, that's the one. Like we've got to
Yeah.
go get him. He is part of like today I had a guy ask me like, what's my dream starting five as of right now? And he is part of my starting five where I'm like, if he's our four, I'm feeling
Uh-huh.
pretty good about where we're at.
Yeah, for sure. And then the only other player that I really want is the Robert Morris guy. I feel like he would be really great. I'm blanking if it's Drew or Daniel Good. I should know, but he's one of the players that,
Deshaun Good.
yeah, Deshaun Good. I
Oh,
I
okay.
could not remember his first name for the life of me, but Deshaun Good. If I would love to get him like to be the starting four. If we do miss on Donnie Freeman.
Yeah, he is a really good player. Like I tweeted out when we were like kind of talking to him for the first time, whatever. Like he doesn't shoot it a lot from three. He's hit them, so like maybe that's one of those guys that like you can kind of step that up, and maybe those shots, maybe they're not as efficient, but they at least fall. But you can always make room for a dude that has 8.7 rebounds per game as your four. Like that
Yeah.
that's you can always make room for that. So I mean he averaged 15 and 9 there last year. So I mean I would definitely be all in on that.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, the only other player that a lot of people really want is Paulius Moraskis, but it does not look like he's interested in Kentucky or Kentucky isn't really interested in him. Like, it looks like that is one of the players that we all really wanted whenever he entered the transfer portal, but it does not look like there's mutual interest between the two.
Yeah, I mean he's obviously a really really good player. His numbers are like kind of similar to Donnie Freeman, so it's kind of like just pick and choose with what you want. He's obviously like a better overall player, I'd say, but I think the fit of Donnie I think makes more sense.
Hmm.
Morauskas, like ironically enough, it seems like Louisville's kind of going all in after him. I know
Yeah.
UConn came out this morning in reports that they're kind of going after him. The Arizona State is a big one because Randy Bennett going there, like they're considering following him. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, he's going to cost a pretty penny,
Yeah.
but I mean, he's a good player. It's just that it seems like because we at least had the Zoom call with him. So it seems
Hmm.
like the staff is kind of like, all right. I mean, we have the money, obviously. Like, if we wanted to really pursue him, we'd still be in the mix. I think the staff just kind of felt like this isn't necessarily the fit that we're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. And talking a little bit more about Donnie Freeman, Trilly Donovan put in his Discord a little bit earlier that he says Kentucky is like Kentucky has offered the most NIL for him, but his camp wants him to either it looks like go to UConn, which has the lowest offer right now in NIL money for him, or Alabama currently at this time. But things can change. But it is great to hear that Kentucky has like the most NIL offer. It is not a great thing though to hear that Kentucky is not leading in his recruitment right now.
Yeah, I do remember. I think it was 2 days ago now at this point that Shirley put out that he thinks um, it's going to be a Kentucky and Alabama race, and it's going to be one of those two schools. But then if you listen to Field of 68 today, Jeff Goodman said UConn is the leader right now. So that
Mhm.
adds to where I had said earlier, like this staff just isn't really letting anything out. Like everything that has kind of gone on with this whole recruitment and everything, which I think is good that they've done it this way, but it's like nothing's being let out. Like you're not figuring out how calls have gone. Like the only thing that we've known to this point is that Donnie Freeman was like, "Oh, where's mine? Where's
Uh-huh.
my bed sheet with my name on it?" That's literally all we've seen at this point. So,
Yeah.
obviously the thing coming out about us giving the most NIL, it's obvious that this is the four that they're really targeting as a staff.
Uh-huh.
So I think that also makes it a little interesting that he's kind of like the one that they've targeted out of all of them. But I would love to have him. He is like you said, we're not necessarily first for him right now,
Hmm.
but like I mentioned a moment ago, getting the first visit is huge, and we are the first visit, and he'll be
Hmm.
visiting on Tuesday the 14th. So I think this will probably be uploaded Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
So he'll be visiting today if you're viewing this when it comes out. Like
Hmm.
if that visit goes well and you can get him commit on spot, like I mean you're in a good spot there.
Yeah, you're definitely in a good spot. And continuing to talk about a couple more players that are heading to Lexington for a visit. You've also got Colgate transfer Jalen Cox, 6'3", 180 pounds, and he's another player that you would probably bring him in as a backup, but he doesn't really want to be a backup. But this past year, he was the leading points. He led the team with the amount of points with nearly 18 points per game. 5.3 assists, 5.2 rebounds, and 1.7 steals per game. Shot 36.5% from the three-point line. Also earned first team All Patriot League honors as well as a spot on the All Defensive team. And also another fun fact for him, UK actually played against Colgate, of course, in Mark Pope's first year. UK won, even though they got up big, like 14-0 to start out, but they only won 78 to 67. Cox finished that game with 10 points. Only shot 4 for 12 from the field, 1 for 5 from the three-point line, but he did add 8 assists, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals, and he was one of 3 players to score in double digits for Colgate that game.
Yeah, I was trying to go back real quick to see what he ended up having in that game because um, that was one thing I thought about when we were going after a Colgate guy. So, I mean, this is a dude with a lot of experience under his belt. He's played 3 years, started a whole lot of games in his career. This is the one that I will say, Alex Wilkins, I'm not as familiar with. Jalen Cox, I've watched like a lot of film on him just because it feels
Mhm.
like, I mean, he's being pursued by a lot of teams, but it feels like he's a very likely guy that like he could kind of be the backup point guard role. Like no matter what happens with our 1-2 punch, whatever happens for the starting backcourt, this feels like a legitimate option that you could get as
Yeah.
a like guy off the bench to be able to come in and like steady this ship. So I've watched a lot of him. He can do a ton offensively. That's the one thing that I took away. Um, he's really good with his hands. He can get his feet in the paint. He can kind of get to his spot whenever he wants. Like he's had clutch shots. He's had I mean, all three levels. He's an elite scorer. So I'm like not that he's my number one guy by any means, but
Uh-huh.
as a like definite depth piece, like this is the guy that I'm like the highest on. Where I'm like this might be the one outside of what we'll have as a starting group. Like this is the one that I want so bad because all of the numbers line up with what would make sense for Pope. But he's also, I mean, he's won a lot of games. He's played a lot of games. He's
Hmm.
efficient with what he does. And obviously, I mean, I like the guys that like spend. This kind of reminds me of Lamont a little bit. Like they
Uh-huh.
spend their long time. Like San Diego State's not small by any means, but at a lower level, I mean, Mountain West is lower than SEC. But then they go that the 1 year and they take the leap. Like for
Yeah.
him at Colgate, he plays 3 years there and then takes the one
Uh-huh.
leap. And I would love that to be at Kentucky because this kid,
Yeah.
I mean, he's got good size. He's not the biggest kid in the world, but he's not small by
Mhm.
any means. I would absolutely love to have
Yeah.
Jalen Cox on our team next year.
Yeah, same here. Like he would be the perfect six man off the bench. Like the person that you need a spark. Like he can shoot the ball well. He can also defend very well. Of course, you take that leap from going from Colgate to the SEC. Like hopefully he can manage that. I do believe he can do that, and he would be successful with any Power Five team, whether he ends up at Kentucky or whatever other school he goes to. But I would love to see him at Kentucky as like a six man.
Yeah, I don't have the full list of teams, but I mean, we've both seen it. He's getting pursued by so many schools, and I'm sure some of them are actually viewing him as a potential starter for him. So that would be hard to turn down if you're in his role. But I heard Pilgrim say earlier today that like the backup point guard market is kind of like $1 million, and I mean,
Yep,
for a lot of
it's
schools,
pretty.
that seems outrageous for people, but we're Kentucky, and it's kind of like we have the luxury, like the luxurious pockets. Like we have that. So he's a guy that I really want us to be able to spend for, even if it takes a little bit more than that $1 million asking price or whatever. I really hope we're able to get him because, like you said, as a guy off the bench, like he can hit shots, he can also control the game a little bit, and like, yeah, I just love that kid a ton. Just from what I've seen and watched of him, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially what he did against Kentucky, and that was his sophomore season, I want to say.
Yes, yeah, his sophomore year.
Yeah, but I would love to get him. But moving on to the final target piece that we know of course, there could be more visitors coming onto campus after we get done filming this, but it is Magoon Guap. If y'all don't know who he is, UK tried to recruit him last year to Kentucky, and they were going to pay him starting numbers, like I don't know how much a starter was going to get paid for, like 1.5 million, $2 million, and now like you were mentioning, bench players are already getting paid $1 million. I'm thinking to myself, that's so much money. So basically, what UK was going to pay Magoon Guaf to be a starter is what they're going to be paying this year, probably for him to be a bench player if he does come to Kentucky. But like I said, UK recruited him last year. 7 foot, 210 pound big man. Last year, he played 25 games, 16 starts, managed to have nearly 9 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, and 1.5 blocks in 19 minutes per game while battling hip and knee issues. And that's one of the reasons why I did not want Guap last year. Like everybody was calling me a non-ball knower, calling me dumb, stupid, because I said if we get Magoon Guap, we cannot start him. Like he cannot be our starting forward or starting center. And I was right because like he dealt with injuries all of last year. Same with Jaden Quaintance, of course. Like, would you rather have had Jaden Quaintance or Magoon Guap, who played at least half of the year? But I was right on Guap, where I'm like, if he's going to start, like, he's probably not going to be healthy all year. And UK will definitely be like, taking a gamble on Guap because of his prior injuries and everything. But at the same time, if he's playing 10 to 15 minutes, I feel confident with Guap being fully healthy this upcoming year.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you mentioned, he's a guy that's had some injury history, which really sucks. Like he's had surgery to insert pins in his ankle. He's had knee surgery, and then in early 2026, he got hip injury. It was hip impingement flexor issue. So I mean, he's had three different things where it's kind of like been some flare ups, but he's come back from all of them. Like this year, he had missed a little bit of time, and then he came back in mid February and had 5 blocks in a game. So it was like this guy, I mean, he just has a knack for being a rim protector. Like it's what he does. Like he averaged 2.6 freshman year, 1.5 this year, so it was down a little bit, but it was in a different role. So obviously, I think this past year didn't go exactly how he was hoping and how his people were wanting that to go because he could have been in kind of a similar situation that he was in at San Diego State at Kentucky this year. So as a depth piece, I think you still need to add another front court piece because it's obviously a
Yep.
little bit risky with a guy with injuries. But I mean, he's a guy that can stretch the floor a little bit. Like he doesn't shoot a
Mhm.
ton of threes, but like he can shoot them, and you have to
Mhm.
respect him a little bit. Like I think the fit makes a ton of sense. Like the rim protection is the main thing that I love about it. Like
Yeah.
you can never have too much rim protection. And you get a
Mhm.
guy that's 7 foot that you can kind of have as a backup option to another 7 footer. You're in a really good spot. So I do like
Mhm.
Magoon Guath, and I like whenever he entered the portal, I was like, "Hello, old friend." Like I just didn't think we were
Hello.
going to go after him, and then it took a little bit, and then it was like the
Yeah.
Sunday of all Sundays yesterday. We added that we're going to talk to him, and we had a call with him and all that, and
Mhm.
I was like, this is crazy. But after the dramatic recruitment last year, maybe this year is the year that it actually ends up happening with all these
Yeah.
connections still staying
Yeah.
staying true.
Yeah, he comes to Kentucky finally, where everybody was expecting him to do that last year, like come to Lexington. For his career, he has knocked down 37 of 91 three-point attempts, so shooting 40.7% from the field. Last year, he made 20. his redshirt freshman season, he made 17 threes. So like you were saying, like he's a three-point shooter kind of like you cannot like guard like far away from him. Like if he's open in the 3-point line, he's probably going to try to attempt to shoot and try to make it. Like this past year with Mo Diabate, like he wasn't known to be a 3-point shooter. Like he shot, I think, 40% at Alabama, but it was only one 3-point attempt. So if you are leaving Wath open, he's probably going to attempt to make it, and hopefully he does.
Yeah, no doubt. He's one of those guys that, like you said, you just have to at least respect it. You can't just sit in the paint, sit inside the arc, and just let him shoot because they're gonna fall. Like you said with Mo D, yeah, he shot. What was his totals? It was 12 for 26, so he was 46% from three at Alabama, and then he came to Kentucky, and it was like cover your heads sometimes,
Yeah,
unfortunately, and he ended up hitting six of 28. But so that whole situation did not go as planned. So like you need at least guys that can do it. Like they've proven that they can at least do it a little bit, hitting shots from downtown. Like that, Magoon is like one of those guys that I think makes sense to have as a backup because, like you said, you have to respect the three. He can hit them. I mean, any guy that can hit shots can also get hot. So maybe you have one of those situations where he has a really good game. You got to keep him in a little bit longer. And against some of the like more lengthy teams and stuff that will play that. I mean, it seems like the sport is heading that way. Like Florida comes to mind. Like you can play him alongside Malachi, and it doesn't have to be necessarily like a 1-for-1 the entire time throughout the season, but he would be very beneficial in a game like that where you have
yeah,
7-footer alongside 7-footer, and you can also just stretch it a little bit because, like, I don't know what their whole situation is, but it seems like they're just going to bring back everybody from Florida last year.
yeah.
So we'll see. But like, he would be nice for that type of game, in my opinion.
You know who I would love for UK to add, and they have shown some interest in this player, but UConn transfer big man Eric Reeby. Like I would love for him to
Oh
be
man,
UK.
I I was in the Chicago airport when I watched um Eric Rabbit play against Arizona because Terrence Reed was out that game. And I was like in love. I was like,
Yeah,
this guy right here, like this is a freshman. Like this dude, he just moves a little different. And I know that was his best game. And like it wasn't like UConn fans said that he was unplayable towards the end of the year. I don't remember him being like that bad. I mean, who was supposed to do anything against some of those teams that they were playing at the end of the year? It was kind of just a death trap.
yeah,
But I would absolutely love that. If you could figure out a way to get him over, I'm sure his market price is crazy because he's
yeah.
gonna be
I'll start.
uh, yeah, he's going to be a starter somewhere probably, but like we're at
Mhm.
least one of the like three schools that have been put out that we're like going after him big time. But I'm right there with you. I would
Yeah,
love that would be my probably dream
yeah,
backup for Allie.
yeah. Malachi Marino, that it would be an insane backup. Like if you get him to come here, like with Mark Pope, with whatever, like he's promising. Of course, there's only been interest. I don't think they've had any Zoom calls or any meetings, but it would be insane.
Yeah, that would be unbelievable. I mean, 7'1" German like
Yeah.
that would be awesome. That would be a phenomenal pickup if we did. Like you said, there hadn't been a ton of extensive talks, but if
Mhm.
there was a world where we did end up picking him up, that would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. But a couple more quick hitters, and then we'll briefly talk about football because the spring game is coming. Jake Wright, of course, also committed to Kentucky, the number 2 overall QB in the class of 2027. Four-star quarterback. We'll talk about that. But a couple of quick hitters I want to talk about. Mo Diabate, he has announced that he's transferring to St. John's. Jalen Lowe, he announced he's transferring to Georgetown. And then there was one other player that announced his commitment. I'm blanking.
Brandon
Who?
Garrison.
Yeah, Brandon Garrison announced his commitment to Alabama as well. So you've already heard 3 former players from this past year's Kentucky team already announcing their intentions on where they are transferring to. And then another quick thing I want to hit on. Congratulations to the Kentucky women's basketball team where Tiani Key, there were 4 players from this past year's women's team to get drafted. Tiani Key got drafted round 2, pick 22 to Toronto Tempo. Tony Morgan, round 3, pick 32 to Chicago Sky. So she'll be with Angel Reese. That'll be great. and
Yeah,
then
no doubt.
and then Amelia Hassett got drafted round 3, pick 35 to LA Sparks. And then Jordan Obi got drafted round 3, pick 44th to the Las Vegas Aces.
Yeah, I did see it was the most in school history, so that is really awesome to see the girls program. I mean, year 2 for Kenny getting them on the map like that is very impressive. So that is a lot of fun. I mean,
Yeah.
like having that many girls across the league. I mean, it's not going to be completely to the NBA extent, but there for a while, it was like, all right, well, we got Ron Howard, and that's about it. Like
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's super cool to have them all get drafted and have a shot to make it in the league. Now we got Georgia Amore from last year,
Yeah.
and then now we get these girls this year.
Yeah, and hopefully Georgia Amore can actually stay fully healthy this upcoming year. If y'all don't know, she tore her ACL during practice, like to get ready for the WNBA season. So she missed the whole year. So hopefully she can come back fully healthy and can actually have a great year. Technically, it would be probably her rookie year if you want to get technical.
Yeah, the Ben Simmons rookie year.
The
Yeah,
Ben
but
Simmons rookie year.
but yeah, no, we definitely need her to stay healthy because
Yeah.
she's obviously an elite player.
For sure. And one other thing I forgot to mention also for the Kentucky men's basketball team, but Trent Noah is coming back to Kentucky. He'll probably be like a 12th man. And he's probably getting most of his NIL pay through endorsements, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I would guess so. I was very curious about his whole thing because he could obviously go a lot of places and play. But like you said, the money is probably pretty good for him here, better than if he
Mhm.
went somewhere to play. But also it's every kid's dream to be able to wear that across their chest
Yeah.
and be able to be a part of that. So I don't necessarily blame him there. I'm glad he's back though. I do
Yeah.
like to be able to have like because retention matters so much. He has played. Some of it's been because of injury, but he has played a lot in his 2 years.
Mhm.
And obviously you want to kind of take
Mhm.
away the weakness that you've seen kind of show through. And getting him year three is going to be a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, for sure. And then one last question, and then we'll briefly talk football. Do you want Travis Perry back if we get him on a nice, friendly, kind deal? Like he would be probably like the backup to the backup point guard. Like he would be competing with minutes against Mason Williams if you get two guards. Like I would say no personally. Like I would rather see him ball up at like Western Kentucky University. Like I know you won't get paid a lot compared to Kentucky, but I'd rather see him, make $100,000, whether it be 100K from WKU and like average nearly 20 points per game.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, before you even said it, I want to see him go down there and get a fat NIL deal with Cheetah Clean and ball out with Tegan. Yeah, I would like to see him go to Western. I think it'd just be a lot of fun because it'd be so easy to root for him down there, and
Mhm.
it'd just be awkward. Like, it would be cool to have him at Kentucky, and he's not big enough. Obviously, it's I would like to see the state's all-time leading scorer be in a Kentucky uniform, but he's too small for how he
Mhm.
plays, and it just wouldn't make much sense. So I would like to
Yeah.
see him go to Western, ball out. He's a little bit closer to home at that point. Like, yeah, I just think that would make the most sense, and it would make it easy for all of Kentucky fans to be able to still root for him and cheer him on while he's down there in BG.
Yeah, for sure. But now let's get into football. We'll briefly
Well, I do
talk about.
have. Did you name all the former cats? I know you named the three where they're headed. You named BG, Lowe, and Mo. Well, and
Mo.
then we talked about Colin. But did you mention
Oh,
Yelovich?
Yelovich. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention him. Andre Yelovich also went to Ohio State, so that was another player I forgot to mention. But I wish he could have came back. That was actually one of the players I would have loved to see him back with Mark Pope in year two under him.
Yeah, he was definitely in that tier right below those top guys that I really wanted to return.
Mhm.
But I wanted to really make sure we brought him up because he left the best message that I can remember a
Yeah.
player transferring out ever leave. Like I don't have it word for word, but what that dude said in that I was like, you've got a fan in me forever because it was something like I know you've probably got mixed emotions towards me, but I don't have mixed emotions like towards you. And he said
Yeah.
something like BBN and this program will always be championship level and they will always have a standard and everything and Coach Pope it's in good hands right now and he loved his time and he was saying
Mhm.
just a big shout out to the fans because it wasn't just home games, it was anywhere they played. It was awesome. And I mean I just loved all that he said and I thought it was awesome. So I'll be rooting for him when he's at Ohio State and
Mhm.
yeah, I think he's honestly going to play a lot there too because
Yeah.
they had they were a weird team because they just played their starting five basically. That's like all they did
Yeah.
the entire season and they've lost a couple of those guys. So
Mhm.
now he's going to be hoisted into where he's probably going to be starting there next year.
Mhm.
And so I'm excited to watch him. I do
Yeah.
wish he was back, but I'll be cheering for him.
Yeah, I'll definitely be cheering for him at Ohio State. I'll read a part of the message like you were saying. He said, "Dear Big Blue Nation, I know all of you might currently have mixed feelings about me, but I do not have mixed feelings about you. I love every single one of you, and I thank you for all the love and support you gave me this year. He also continued to say this program was always destined for greatness and that will never change because it is in great hands with Coach Pope and the rest of the staff and the rest of the amazing coaching staff. Thank you for everything, BBN. So I really like that message. I liked it better than Colin Chandler's message because Chandler's message looked like AI, or ChatGPT.
Yeah, we did talk about that on the last one where we were like, that was definitely not all from the heart for him because it
Yeah.
was it was a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
Um, but we obviously
Yeah.
got we figured out where he was going, which I don't think at the time he was committed when we filmed the last, but we knew he
No.
was going to BYU.
Yeah.
But I guess to round it off, we did talk about this guy in the last one. I'm pretty sure where Aberdeen's going to Florida.
Yeah. Aberdeen going back to
Back
Florida.
to Florida for another year of eligibility. It was a weird thing. And then I guess before we completely move on, where do you think Jasper's going to go? Because I know Calipari is supposed to meet with him like I think tomorrow. Honestly,
Alabama. I'm confident in saying Alabama. Like Nate Oates almost had him come to Alabama before like he had a change of heart and decided to come to Kentucky. It was of course KY till I die. So I was happy to get Jasper Johnson, but I think he's going to Alabama.
yeah, I definitely think he's going to Bama. It is interesting that Cal's going to try to make a push at him though. I think
Yeah.
they've missed on a lot of guys that they've gone after in the portal so far.
Mhm.
Like I think they were kind of wanting to go after Rob Wright and Isaiah Johnson and obviously Santos Real. And they've kind of just missed on all of them. They've got some guys transferring out, so I feel like they're going to try to go like pretty hard at Jasper. I feel like both of those teams would make sense for him. It does just stink because, like you mentioned, the KY till I die. Now he's going to be like, if he goes to Bama like we think, then it's going to be like AL till I die or something. It's going to be weird.
Yeah, it would definitely be very weird, but let's talk about football. We'll briefly talk about it. Of course, like I mentioned, Jake Wright, the number two overall QB in the class of 2027, the first really big domino to fall, but he ended up committing to Kentucky over the weekend on Sunday. It really came out of nowhere. Like, apparently, what happened from what I was reading, basically, he had a conversation with offensive coordinator Joe Sloan that day. And basically, from that conversation, he decided to commit to Kentucky basically right after that. And we're hoping to get him onto the podcast next week. So hopefully we can, because that would be a big gift for us to get, like I said, the number two overall QB in 2027 four-star quarterback. And I think he's going to be really great for Kentucky. Of course, he could be competing against Matt Ponatowski in the coming years because Matt Ponatowski, he's only going to be a freshman this upcoming year since he's in the class of 2026. So it will definitely be interesting, but it was a huge, big gift for Kentucky football, and I'm excited to see what Will Stein and Joe Sloan can do with Jake Wright.
Yeah, that it's super exciting. I mean, and it was also timing wise pretty awesome because we had to deal with all the Louisville fans thinking they were cutting down the nets for I don't even know, it was like about an hour. But then there was the news starting to kind of come out that like Will Stein's cooking. We're gonna see something maybe happen here soon, and then it was like bang, number two quarterback in the country committed to Kentucky. So it was wild because it's a feeling that we haven't necessarily had in a long time. I don't know where he ranks among the highest ranked quarterbacks we've ever had, but like we had this talk when Matt Ponatowski committed, we were like, oh well, this is higher than like we've had for most guys, and then now we got the number two quarterback in the class. So,
Mhm.
um, from what I've seen of him, I haven't had a chance to like watch a ton, but super accurate. Like Will Stein talked about his entire time is very very accurate. He's got a big arm, and he makes just incredible throws. I've seen him make
Yeah.
a few across the middle, make small window throws, make downfield throws. He looks awesome. So I am very very excited to see that. And it like we've had a long run of transfer quarterbacks. So I'm kind of hoping between him and Matt, one of those two guys kind of like pan out because
Mhm.
like I mean Matt Ponatowski, yes, he was committed under Stoops, but he was also recruited by Will Stein. So like
Mhm.
it was a situation where it was a win-win for
Yeah.
Matt Ponatowski staying committed here. So those guys have been killing it though. I mean, on the
Yeah.
recruiting like into things, like there's a couple guys that seems like they're right on the verge of being able to land now, but that was back-to-back days getting a four-star. But Jake Narrot, I mean, getting a quarterback is going to be like that. It's another level of excitement whenever you get to see that as a
Yeah.
Kentucky football fan because we don't necessarily get that all the time.
Yeah, and he's 6'4", 200 pounds, and that's insane just for him to be a junior and he be that tall and already being at 200 pounds. And uh, it was basically down to between Kentucky, Oregon, and Iowa. The only reason why he was considering Iowa is because he's a legacy recruit with Iowa. So it was great to beat out, Oregon, like Will Stein's former team where he was at, and then of course Iowa as well. But very exciting, and like he has a high-powered arm, and he's going to be just a great football player. I feel like very accurate, and he also plays another sport. He plays basketball. This past year, he actually averaged 11 points per game and 7 rebounds, along with shooting 64% from the field. So overall, great player, multi-sport athlete, and he's also really good in basketball as well.
Yeah, that is exciting. I mean, at least with this one, we don't have to worry about him getting like drafted into the NBA before
Mhm.
playing, like we do have to worry about a little bit with Ponatoski. But yeah, you do love the dual sport athletes. Like when they play
Yeah.
multiple sports, that ends up panning out pretty well.
Mhm.
You go across the NFL and you look at all those guys. Like all those guys ended up playing multiple sports growing up and playing multiple sports throughout high school.
Mhm.
But like you said, his size and frame and stuff. I bet he's nasty on the court because he's huge.
Mhm. He can
Eh,
dunk.
yeah, I mean, he's just an athlete. Like he's just one of
Yeah.
those dudes that you just kind of love and
Yeah.
but yeah, being able to win that recruiting battle with those schools and stuff and obviously like you know the guys that are at the helm there, like being able to beat out
Yeah.
those guys
Mhm.
without even coaching a ball game here yet, like Joe Sloan and Will Stein cannot get enough credit for that.
Yeah, for sure. And then we want to transition. Hopefully, Will Stein can continue to get commitments in the high school ranks. I believe he will, and I believe Kentucky will probably have a top 25, if not top 20, class of 2027. I feel like because he's going to continue to build it, and if UK can actually perform very well, like if they go above 6-6, like they go 7-5, 8-4, like expect a lot of players to come to Kentucky, whether it be through high school or the transfer portal.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. Like you said, if you can figure out a way to win a lot of those games, and I mean, obviously the staff has the full confidence that we're
Mhm.
gonna win a lot more games than some of like the realists in our fan base and stuff. But I mean, all the vibes are going in the right direction. And I mean, I've watched. I don't even know how many different podcasts Will Stein's gone on at this point, but there for a while he had just gone on Andy and Ari, but recently he's gone on like one on three, one with David Pollock, one with some girl. I apologize, I don't remember her name, but like I've just watched all of these. Like I've been loving it and seeing all the vibes and watching all the highlights and stuff from practices. Like the recruiting is backing it up with all the vibes of how the program is headed.
Yeah, for sure. And then I want to hit on some quick notes because if you all are going to the spring game on Saturday, first time you'll be able to see Kentucky's offense and defense under Will Stein, Joe Sloan, Jay Bateman. Couple of things. Apparently, the offensive line is the best part of the offense right now. Like, and many people can say, "Wow, it's not like the quarterback or the wide receivers," but I feel good about that. If your offensive line is doing very well, like they can block for the quarterback, they can also do run blocks for whoever their running back is playing at that time. Like I feel great because like the past like 5 or 6 years, like the offensive line has been terrible. It has not held up to the big blue wall tradition that they have had. But hearing that the offensive line is like the best part, it's a little surprising and shocking. Um, because you have a great quarterback with Kenny Minchie, but it is also great to hear that, the O-line is holding up.
Yeah, and I think it's really like a mainly a testament to the O line because, like you mentioned, some of the guys that we've got some really good players in skill positions, but the O line being that good is like very apparent. I'm assuming with how they've
Mhm.
talked about him. So, like Will Stein's always talked about, and like all the best coaches in the history of the game have talked about, the game is won and lost in the trenches, and that's exactly where they attacked right away. Like right when they got that job, right when they were assembling that staff and everything, they went and made sure that they built from the inside out and built it from the trenches, and it's working out to perfection, it seems like, to this point.
Yeah.
So I am very, very optimistic with that because like you
Hmm.
can you can never win games if you have a bad O line, but you can always like there's it raises the floor whenever you have a really good O line. So
Hmm.
that makes me extremely like positive and like just a great mindset going forward,
Hmm.
going into the season because you're obviously going to play a ton of like tough competition, but in the SEC you're going to have those trenches and the
Yeah.
offensive line is going to be super key for us.
Yeah, for sure. And then continuing to talk about it, Nick Anderson, transfer from LSU, wide receiver. He hasn't really been practicing with the team just because they are trying to keep him fully healthy, along with some of the running backs with C.J. Baxter, transfer from Texas, and then Jovante Barnes, transfer from Oklahoma. So all three of those players, they really haven't been practicing for Kentucky just because they are trying to keep them fully healthy, nearly 100% as much as they can going to fall camp because like you cannot have one of your star players injured, and that makes me a little bit nervous about the running back room because of your two big stars that you're supposed to have. They aren't really practicing in the spring, and then you also bring over a four-star safety with Martellus Carter Jr. Now he's in the running back room. He's been mainly getting reps, snaps in the running back room. He has been playing a little bit of safety, but they really have transitioned him more into a running back. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with like Jason Patterson and Martellus Carter Jr. Being like probably like one of the best running backs. Like they will probably be one of the best running backs if both of them are injured or like they get injured with Baxter and Barnes.
Yeah, that was obviously the thing whenever we brought these guys in with Nick Anderson, CJ Baxter. Not necessarily Javante Barnes, but those first two, like specifically, that like they've got injury history. Like it's kind of been something that's like messed with their career. Um, so that was always like the worry. So I'm kind of going back and forth between like I'm kind of glad that there's like this super cautious mindset. But it also kind of worries me because I'm kind of thinking like maybe these guys have already got banged up a little bit. And like they're just kind of like they're already going through stuff that's going to be lingering and maybe have them missing games in the fall. So um, I'm hoping it's more of just a like just being cautious, making sure more than anything. But yeah, that stinks. Obviously, like you mentioned, that's your one-two punch, and then your wide receiver one. So running back room and wide receiver room, at least at the top, doesn't look great right now. But like you mentioned, Martellus Carter Jr., it's just weird because like when you bring him in, like you said, he's a safety. But now he's kind of taking those reps at running back, and I mean, from reports, he's looked good. I've
Yeah.
only seen like one clip of him, but man, I mean, I don't know.
Mhm.
I feel like this. I don't remember the exact quote that my old football coach used to say, but it was basically saying like I can make it work with anybody. So like they're over here taking the safety and or you would say I can fake it with anybody. That's essentially what they're having to do right here in spring ball. At least they're just having to take Martellus
Mhm.
Carter, who's just an exceptional athlete, but they're taking him over to the other side of the ball and making
Yeah.
him a little bit of a running back right now.
Yeah, and then continuing down the line, tight ends, they are really sticking out, like specifically Willie Rodriguez. Basically, Will Stein said if we are not feeding Willie Rodriguez like every practice, every game, like shame on us, like he's an NFL type of player. Some more with the tight end room, Mikael Skinner. Basically, the big problem with Skinner is he is struggling to learn the playbook, but once he actually knows the play or whatever play is being ran, like he's a demon on the field. Like he's really great. So he just needs to get better at learning the playbook. I get it. He's only a redshirt freshman. Big get, four-star tight end under Mark Stoops, but once he learns the playbook, he's really going to be nice for Kentucky. And then Henry Boyer, he also was a transfer coming to Kentucky last year under Mark Stoops, but has a physical presence. He also brings size, toughness, and reliability in the run game. So he's a great run block tight end, and he can also catch if he needs to, but it's known for run block.
Yeah, I did see Boyer catch a touchdown in one of the clips that they put out the other day, so that was exciting. Yeah, that's unfortunate with Skinner because he's obviously, like you mentioned, he was a prize recruit coming in. I was worried about him potentially leaving just based off
Me
his
too.
Instagram stories whenever Stoops had left. But he ended up staying and riding it out with us. But if you just look at like the past like last year, Kenyon Sadiq and Jamari Johnson out there at Oregon. They've had numerous tight ends in the Will Stein era at Oregon that absolutely went nuclear. Like they were the best player on the field at times. In many games, like Kenyon Sadiq, 560 with 8 touchdowns as a tight end is unheard of.
Mhm.
Especially with a team that uses that many weapons like that because they also had Jamari Johnson with 510. So right
Yeah.
there between two tight ends, you're looking at over 1,000 yards. That's one of the things that I was most excited about because when we were able to retain Willie, which
Uh-huh.
also shout out to Willie, he went out to see the Banner Boys. So I saw
He did.
that before we jumped on here. But that was the one thing I was looking forward to the most with
Mhm.
Willie. It's just you get like almost the tight end whisperer
Yeah.
with what he's been able to do with tight ends out there at Oregon.
Mhm.
And the clips that you just see day in and day out that they keep putting out from UK football,
Yeah.
Willie Rodriguez is an absolute monster. So
He is.
I can't wait for Willie this year. And it feels like we've called as a fan base for so many years to use the tight ends, and it feels like this year we're not going to have to ask a whole lot. It's just going to
Yeah.
be happening.
Yeah, for sure. And then now let's talk about QB play. Kenny Minchey, he has been the real deal all year. Will Stein broke down basically a play during one of his press conferences, basically saying like uh, Kenny Minchey, he had to make so many adjustments. Like he did it all on his own. Like Will Stein didn't get into his ear or anything during practice. Like basically, like he saw what the defense was giving to him, so he made a transition, made another transition after the defense, did an audible, and basically he got the snap off with like 1 second left on the play clock. But he did say that the play ended up with an incomplete pass. But he said the way he was able to just command the offense with how the defense was lined up and all the changes he was doing, and just to get the ball off in time was incredible.
Yeah, well, we've always heard like since Kenny got here that he's just got it. He's got the ball on a rope. He's super accurate with it, but at the end of the day, you've also got to be a playmaker. Like you're never
Mhm.
going to be able to sit in the pocket throughout an entire game and just be untouched and leave with a clean
Yeah.
jersey. So seeing a guy that can make plays like that, like what they've been talking about with him throughout practice and stuff, like that's one of the most
Mhm.
intriguing things about it. Like you're going to see this guy
Yeah.
making plays with great pocket presence and awareness in the backfield that is going to be great for him and great for us overall. Like I'm very excited about that part of it
Mhm.
because we've also that's another thing that we've seen in clips. Like he's had to escape and use his escapability a little bit, and it's been able
Mhm.
to be to perfection almost. So
Yeah.
like you said, that play in particular was not necessarily like a completion and a huge play or whatever, but it's just the fact that it's out there and you can see that happening.
Mhm.
Gives you a lot of like positive vibes
Yeah.
going from that because you can already see it happening in spring ball when you're months and months away from the actual games.
Yeah, for sure. And then to wrap up the offense, we won't go too much on the defensive side, but to wrap it up, multiple wide receivers are sticking out. DJ Miller, who was only a freshman last year, like he showed out, so he's going to have an incredible sophomore season. Shane Carr, he transferred from FCS to the SEC. He's really twitchy. Like everybody is saying, he's doing great from transitioning from the FCS to the SEC, so that's great to hear. Jacaden Ferguson was only a freshman, I believe, last year's redshirt freshman, or he'll be a redshirt freshman this upcoming year. But he has been sticking out. Brock Kaufman, who transferred from Louisville to Kentucky, so that's great. He's actually from Lexington, so it was surprising that he left to go to Louisville. But glad he's back in Lexington. Glad he is at UK. He's been showing out. Harley Gilmore as well has been showing out. So it sounds like UK, they have a lot of wide receivers that are sticking out, but the big thing comes like who's going to be wide receiver one. More than likely, it's going to be Nick Anderson. He just has to be healthy come fall camp, but it'll be interesting to see who's like wide receiver one, two, because last year there was no wide receiver one. It was basically wide receiver two or wide receiver two.
Yeah. It was a lot of oars last year. That was definitely the
Mhm.
situation we found ourselves in. But yeah, this year that gives you a lot of like confidence and stuff going forward because throughout the portal we weren't necessarily landing top receivers. Like there were a few that we were rumored to be talking to or whatever. Nick Anderson was kind of like the one big fish that we got. Getting DJ Miller back was huge for us.
Mhm.
But Shane Carr just reminds me of one of those dudes that like not that I knew a ton about him when he was where was he from? It was something Utah,
Utah
Southern Utah.
State,
I don't
Southern
remember.
Utah, yeah,
Yeah,
some
it was
scoring.
something like that. Um, but it was like one of the not that I obviously wasn't watching his games when he was out there, but it's like there's oftentimes that you can see when brilliant offensive minds, and the coaching staff and stuff, they can pick these guys out of these like lower level. Like you see this all the time.
Mhm.
You can pick these guys out. Like they don't have to necessarily have 1,500 yards or something in the season,
Mhm.
but they notice them and notice like what they do. They notice the little things and stuff, and they bring them over. So when we
Yeah.
got Shane Carr, I was like, this could be a little something here, and it seems like he's ended up panning out. You mentioned Jacaden Ferguson and Brock Kaufman, like those guys are obviously going to be very important because they're towards the top of the rotation. Like with how fast we're going to play and stuff. Like a lot of these guys are going to be getting touches throughout the year.
Mhm.
So it is exciting to have a lot of different guys that have really stood out in the wide receiver room because throughout the portal season, it was like, all right, well, who are we going to be able to throw it to? Because I know Cam Miller left, and we obviously had some guys graduate and stuff. So being able to have all those guys like give the coaching staff some confidence is very fills you with optimism.
Yeah, for sure. And then we'll briefly talk about the defensive side. I really am not nervous about the defensive line. Like, I feel like it's going to be very strong. Like, they'll be able to get to the quarterback quickly. So, not really worrying about the defensive line, not really worrying about the safeties because you've got Ty Bryant back, which was a big get to return to Lexington instead of either transferring or going to the NFL draft. So, happy to get him back. And then, of course, you get the Florida transfers, Jordan Castell. So, that was a big get in the safety room. The positions I worry about the most, though, on the defense is basically the cornerback room, and then of course the linebacker room as well.
Yeah, that's definitely the worry. The cornerback room is mainly my biggest worry, just because I'm hoping that like we can see a step forward from some of these guys, and we obviously got Bo Barnes coming in, so I'm hoping that he can kind of end up being that dude that he was supposed to be coming out of high school and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely the next worry, but I feel like I'm more worried about corners overall, just like
Yeah.
across the board. Like obviously they can end up being a lot better than what we're expecting them to be, but
Mhm.
as of right now, there's not like a whole lot of things that you can just kind of get the vibe of that gives you a ton of confidence and stuff. But like you said, the D line is going to be nasty. The safety room is going to be nasty. Like those two positions, I'm very confident in. I think we're going to disrupt the quarterback a lot. And the one thing with Bateman, like you're going to take some gambles and stuff. So that's going to be a lot of fun because you're going to play a lot of bodies. You're going to have a lot of fresh
Mhm.
bodies and stuff. Being able to kind of throw random stuff at other offenses and stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe that'll help us out a little bit where we
Mhm.
don't have to worry so much about the cornerback room and stuff where we're
Yeah.
sitting there just getting 50-50 balls thrown out there all the time. But the defense, yeah, like you said, I'm not nervous about it. It's just kind of like you usually at this point, especially in the Stoops era, like you're hearing a lot of positive things from different defensive players.
Yeah.
But that hasn't necessarily been the case to this point.
Yeah. Yeah, and the problem with the cornerback room and the linebacker room is everybody is so young on it. Like Teron Nichols, I believe he's only like a redshirt sophomore, but he got thrown into the Ole Miss game a couple years ago whenever UK got the big win against him, and everybody was like, "Wow, that is crazy that UK got the win." I think he's a redshirt sophomore. He could be a redshirt senior at worst, but he's one of the leaders in the cornerback room. But like I said, I'm just nervous about the cornerback and linebacker room just because of how young they are.
Yeah, that is a great point. Like that brings some worry because they are definitely young across the board.
Mhm.
Because obviously some of those guys like Sam Green comes to mind that like they did return, but they were also young when they got here. So it's kind of you're banking on a lot of guys to take a step forward in their career. So I do get that. I
Yeah,
get that aspect of it, but I have a lot of trust in them because it feels like
yeah,
this defensive staff overall. I feel like we've got like just a
mhm,
gold like defensive coordinator with Jay Bateman. I feel like he's going to be the guy that's next up. And obviously being under a coach that basically called the defense for a college football playoff team is a great
yeah,
tree to find yourself under. So I am
yeah.
excited about it, but there is a little bit of a worry in the back of your mind where you're like they're pretty young. We'll see what
Mhm.
that ends up being like.
Yeah, for sure. And then one last thing I want to mention is the cornerback coach, Alan Brown. He's new to the staff, of course, everybody is, other than the defensive line coach, Anwar Stewart. He actually returned to Kentucky. Like he was like the only like staff from Mark Stoops to return. It felt like there's a couple more that did return, but that was like one of the big coaches that actually returned to Lexington. But Alan Brown, he actually broke one of his fingers because basically they do the peanut hit with the footballs to try to see if a player isn't paying attention or whatever to try to get the ball out, and he broke his pinky, I believe, from doing it.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. The peanut punch breaking your thumb or breaking your pinky is just hilarious to me. Like
Yeah,
just getting in the action and stuff.
yeah,
I do notice like he was one of them. I don't think all the coaches did it, but some of them that I had seen, they do rock the cleats out there. So I do like that
yeah.
because they can get after it. They can still get in these drills with them and stuff, and still be completely active with them. So I do like that aspect of it. But and it's funny just hearing Alan Brown talk about it was just a normal thing. It was a normal occurrence that he just went out there and tried to peanut punch and just broke his pinky.
Yeah, and speaking of cleats, Kobe Smith, who's the running back coach, actually does that.
That's right. I was trying to think of who the other one was because he said he actually like jumps in the drill and like will illustrate some things. I think sometimes. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, that is pretty exciting.
Yeah, well, I know Cameron and I, we won't be at the spring game because we're actually going to be out of town. We're going to enjoy a little vacation, but we'll definitely get this podcast uploaded before we get out of town. I'm leaving on Wednesday, so excited to have a few days off for vacation to go to Tennessee. Where are you going, real quick, and then we'll wrap it up.
I'm going to Chi-Town. It's my cousin's bachelor trip, and
Oh,
so we're going up there, and yeah, there's gonna be 10 fellas. So I'm excited for the trip.
hey, that'll be fun. Yeah, my girlfriend and I, we're going to Gatlinburg in Tennessee, so we're going to enjoy some hiking together. So we're leaving on Wednesday, getting back on Sunday. So it'll be a nice little short trip, but a lot of fun too.
Yeah, hey, you gotta eat Sunliner Diner while you're down there. That's the
Uh,
spot right there.
Eat somewhat.
Sunliner Diner, fire.
Sunliner Diner. You'll have to text it over to me, but I'll try to remember that. But text it over to me, so we'll definitely try it out though.
We'll do. We'll need your review on the podcast next week.
Oh, for sure. But we appreciate you all watching on YouTube, of course, listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I know this was a longer podcast, but hey, we talked a lot of football and basketball. If y'all are going to the spring game on Saturday, hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully you'll get to enjoy the offense and also the defense. But it's going to be a whole new show, and I can't wait to see what Will Stein can do as the head coach for Kentucky.
No doubt. Best way to get better at football is playing football. So I'm very excited about it.
You're right about that. But have a great rest of your all week, everybody. But this is Chris Beesmore and
And Cameron Waddle.
signing out. Have a great week. Bye bye.